Good afternoon, Whispers, and welcome back to Whispers in a Bottle Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, Season 12. Oh my goodness, Whispers. I am so excited to welcome you back in to our safe zone to birth brand new discussions in this season. I hope you all are ready. You know, my name is Sonia Lorray. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic wellness practitioner. And like I said, I'm honored to say that I'm your host. And it's so good to be in a new year, 2026, bringing in such powerful topics, powerful discussions. I hope you all have started your year off on a positive note. And Whispers, before we dive in, hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you want my best tools and master keys, join the Whispers Exchange newsletter at the link in the show notes or the description box, because I'm telling you, this season is going to be dynamic. There are bonuses that are in our newsletter that you can only receive if you're a part of our Whispers community inside of that beautiful newsletter, because even for today's discussion, there's a complimentary workbook that goes along with it. So you know you don't want to miss it. Make sure that you subscribe. If you don't see the link, come over to Instagram at whispersinabottle_podcast and hit follow, send us a DM, or tap the link that's in our bio even. Don't forget, this is a fully interactive discussion, and Podbean has our back. They have placed a live chat box in each and every one of our discussions, so you can drop your questions, your comments. If you need me to reiterate something, you just do so. Just put it in there. And only thing I ask is that you please give dignity and respect to everyone, because that's what makes this such a beautiful show. We honor everyone's opinions, everyone's thoughts. So it's such a beautiful time to be here today. So, Whisperers, before we begin, I want you to do something simple but intentional, okay? Wherever you are right now, I want you to pause just a moment. Do not adjust, do not multitask, do not prepare for what comes next. Just notice where you are currently. That's what I'm asking you to do before we dive into today's topic. Now, you know, I like to start all of our discussions off with a clear meaning or definition. So I would like us to get the meaning of presence. Welcome back into the Whisperers Lounge. Nice to have you with us today. So today's word is presence. So that means fully engaged with the here and now, focusing your attention on your current activity or surroundings. Let me give you that again. So today's discussion, we're going to get the meaning or the clear definition of presence. And it means fully engage with the here and now, focusing your attention on your current activity or surroundings. So when I open, I had you stop with intentionality. And now we know that intentionality means on purpose. And this moment, you are right now, or the moment that we're in, you are in right now, is not a placeholder. It's not something to rush through. It's not somewhere that we need to be in a hurry. It's not something that we have to pretend in or anything like that. And it's not a waiting room for the next accomplishment, the next conversation, the next version of you. This moment is your life. And yet, most people are rarely here. Most people are rarely present in that here and that now. And that is something that we have got to be mindful of. Because sometimes, you know what, we can be guilty of like, hey, listen, I'm here, but I'm not here. You know, we tapped out, but we shouldn't be tapped out. But you know what, Whisperers, today we're going to be in that present mode. So we live in a culture that praises speed, productivity, urgency, the constant motion. It's constant rhetoric that we hear. It's always push, keep going, never tire out, never let them see you sweat. Keep pushing. Look, now so, if I even think about it, you know how fast 2025 passed us by? That year, we flew through 2025. And everything that you accomplished, even possibly went through, is now in your past story. It's not even in your present. It's in your past story already. We're 16 days into the new year. We're 16 days into doing great things, having great accomplishments. We're just welcoming in our 12th season on Whispers in a Bottle. This is how time is moving. Time is going fast. And you realize, though, that people want to applaud the hustle. People want to applaud the hustle. We reward overextensions. We normalize distractions. We normalize being pulled and pushed in 30 different directions. And somewhere along the way, being busy replaced being present, and being reachable replaced being rooted. That's a mind-blowing statement in itself. And you know what, Whispers? I have so many notes that I have today that if you could see the notes, you would be blown away, because this discussion is powerful. And for our first discussion back in, and even to welcome our season in that we're going to be having, and what we're doing, this theme for this season is powerful, because it means that we can thrive, to be present and in the moment. And I think as 2026 is here, and in this time, Whispers, for me and even for my team and business, is about getting back to basics. Slowing down enough to be in the moment and to create moments for not just our clients, but also for ourselves. But here is the truth. Here is a truth. Many do not want to even face this truth. And you can't thrive in a life you are never fully in. And over our hiatus, I really had time to really sit in that space and place. And I have to tell you that there was a lot of push and there was a lot of kickback and everything, even trying to develop this season. And that's why when I was sitting in that space and place and being very present and being very sound and silent, this theme was birthed from that place. Because, see, I realized that presence is something that so many of you powerful C-suite executives, leaders, moms, dads are struggling with. Because it's so much that is pulling at us, pulling towards us, moving us, trying to push this current so fast that we need to be in that moment to sit back and pause. See, presence is not passive. Presence isn't soft. It's not even doing less. But what it is, presence is definitely power. See, that's why this discussion is called Presence, the Ultimate Power Move. Really getting you to see where that mindset should be and how we should be looking at our lives and being present in our lives. That's a power move. And so many people miss that move. And so many people allow themselves to be checkmate before they even get to realize this is something they need to harness. Now, in our discussion today, I'm going to be using a lot of different words and different things I'm going to be saying. And I want you to really take notice of what I've placed in our discussion and in this place and space. This is a space that we get to develop ourselves and to refine ourselves. See, it is the power to respond instead of reacting. See, the power to listen without rehearsing your reply. The power to make decisions from clarity instead of chaos. And the power to experience your life instead of merely managing it. Managing it. the power to experience life. And that's what so many people say they want. That's why you've pushed so hard in your career. That's why you've pushed so hard in your life to be in a space and place that you said you want to be able to experience, or to give these experiences to your loved ones, but you are missing out. But see, let's look at it from a space and place of this. Today, Whisperers, we open this new season with a radical reframe. Presence is not self-help. Presence is self-leadership. And for those who lead teams, households, businesses, communities, and legacies, presence is not optional. It is not an option. It is a foundational part of our lives. And when I say foundational, it's the underlying basis or principle. So today is about reclaiming your seat in your own life. Do you have a seat at the table in your life? That's the power question you got to ask yourself. Do I have a seat at the table in my own life? Have I even made a space or a place for me? Woo! So let's get into the cost of absence. Because I think sometimes you got to hear certain things to realize what it sounds like, what the vibration is, so we can start to change certain elements and perspectives and habits that we may have. So, Whisperers, most people do not realize they are absent until they are burned out. Now, isn't that sad? And either they're burned out, they're disconnected, or emotionally exhausted, or worse, their families are broken. Their families are broken. And absence doesn't always look dramatic, though. Believe it or not, it does not look dramatic. It can be subtle. It can look like being physically present, but mentally elsewhere. And now I've seen people that have, tapped out mentally, they're tapped out, completing conversations without remembering what they even said, what they even did, or anything. And matter of fact, you know what? Sometimes with mates, they say certain things and I never said that. And their partner's like, oh, yes, you did. You did say this. But see, they are so tapped out, they don't even realize that they've said this. Reaching milestones without feeling fulfilled. I have done nothing in my life. I don't have anything. But you've accomplished so much. But you missed it because you're not present. Or living on autopilot while calling it success. Now, absence is not laziness. I want you to hear that, Whispers. Absence is not laziness. It is a survival mode. Survival. And when your nervous system is overloaded, your mind learns to scan forward or backwards. It lives in a future trying to prevent harm, or in the past replaying what already happened. And presence actually requires safety. Presence requires safety. But see, many high functioning people have not felt safe enough to slow down. They feel that they got to keep pushing. They got to keep going. Oh, if I stop, oh, they're going to overtake me. Or wait a minute, pause a second. Pause. So instead, they stay busy. They stay productive. They stay distracted. They stay stressed out. They stay overwhelmed. They stayed pressured. They stay in a place, in a space that is like they are about to combust. But Whisperers, here is the quiet cost of that. When you are not present, you miss information. Emotional information, relational, excuse me, apparently I don't want to say this word today, relational information and body information. And that's actually in totality. You are missing it in totality. But see, presence is how you notice misalignment early instead of after damage is done. And when you're in that absence, life still moves forward. Life is moving no matter how present, how absent you may be. But when you're present, life moves at a pace that you are engaged in, that you are a part of. And it just does this without even your full participation. When you're absent, it's kind of this fragmented segment that you're in. Have you ever watched something and you've been watching this movie all the way to the end, and all of a sudden it just ends in a way that you're like, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second here. Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing in your life, that if you're always absent, it is a part of your life that you are missing out on, that somebody in your life is like, wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute, this ending is horrible. Wait, I didn't even get the rest of this. But that's how some are living. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of our discussion today. And let's get into why presence is the ultimate, you know, power move. Because that's what I told you. This discussion is about presence, the ultimate power move. But let's get into why it is. Power. That word power. That's the ability to do something or act in a practical way or a particular way. Now, power. I chose that word for a reason. Because, see, power is often misunderstood. And many think power looks like control, dominance, authority, or a constant motion. And that's not it, though. Because, see, real power is composure. It's discernment. It's the ability to stay anchored when everything around you demands reaction. Now, that is powerful, whispers. See, presence is power because it regulates your nervous system. It sharpens decision making. It even deepens our influence. It builds trust. But one powerful thing it also does is this: it restores energy. Now, I got the notes here, and I'm going to make a quick reference to it because I want to lean into that point that I just shared. Because people who are present do not need to be loud to be felt. And they do not need to rush to prove anything. And they do not need to over explain, over compensate. They don't need to put the added this and the pow. No. Their presence literally speaks louder than any words they possibly could say. Now, but here is something important I want you to realize. Your presence is felt long before your words are processed. Oh, yes, whispers. That's a fact. See, people feel when you are grounded. They feel when you are distracted. They feel when you are rushed. And they feel when you are truly there. Truly there. So I'll share this with you, whispers. People always tell me that I bring such a calmness into a space, and they feel my presence before I say anything. And I always feel intrigued when I hear things like that. And they say, oh, you have such a calmness about you. You have a way when you even speak, or before you even say anything, how you're standing, or I just take notice, and it has just such an air to it. And it's because I live in each moment. I live in each moment that I am in, and I take in all the small things even. I take in every part of the space and place that I'm in. The people that I connect with, I take them in. I always tell people, I see you way before you see me, because I'm so present and I'm just in that moment, and I'm looking forward to what they have to say or what they don't have to say even. And it makes people feel seen and heard without saying anything or doing anything. And people just share things with me at any given time. I could be standing in a line waiting to purchase something, and people will just start talking to me or sharing things with me. I'm going to say this because I think it's a good space for me to say this. I have a very close friend that always says, "Why do people always want to share things with me?" And I always tell this person, it's because of your energy. It's the energy that you bring in. It's because you are present and people feel that presence. But the funny thing is, that person is always trying to run from that dynamic energy that they have. And my thing is why? Why? See, I tell you all the time, there's presence and power in that word, why. It speaks life. See, because when we are present, people feel that energy. People connect to that before you ever say anything, before you look at them, before you even move close to them or anything. They don't have to even know you, but they feel that energy and that presence. That's power. See, Whisperers, presence is not about perfection. It's about attention. Where your attention goes, your power follows. I think this is a great space and place to introduce our master keys, our first master keys of 2026. This is powerful. And so, if this is your first time listening to Whispers in a Bottle, please let me tell you, I give out master keys in all of our discussions. And the Whisperers can tell you why I give out the keys, because I reiterated each and every episode. This way, it gets imprinted on your heart and on your mind. See, our powerful master keys are given because they allow us to open up the hallways, the corridors, the secret compartments of our heart and our mind. Now, you notice I said that secret compartment, because see, those are areas and spaces and places that only YOU know of. And that's how powerful those keys are, because they penetrate those secret places that we need to address. But let me tell you how powerful these keys are as well, because they work congruently, and they allow you and they allow us to shut out that inner and outer noise that will keep you from being present and understanding how we should show up and show out, and that we are being kept away from that power, that ultimate power move of presence. So with that being said, Whisperers, let's usher in our first master key of 2026. The first key is this: awareness as the gateway. Awareness as the gateway. Awareness isn't judgment. Awareness is observation without attachment. Awareness isn't judgment. It's observation without attachment. So, you cannot change what you are not aware of. Now, you've heard me say that to you on many occasions in many of our discussions. And my clients can even say that verbatim, because I've said that to them as well. You cannot be present if you do not notice when you leave the moment. Now let that vibrate for a second. Let that vibrate and let yourself receive that for a second, because see, we are really speaking in to this dynamic power that we want to have. See, awareness is the doorway, and most people try to force presence. See, they meditate harder. They silence notifications. They escape environments. But presence does not begin with control. Huh? I know some of you all are like, oh, yes, it does. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. And that's a fact. That is a fact. It begins with noticing certain things. So, what could it possibly begin with? So, where do we start? Well, notice when the body tightens. Notice when your breath becomes shallow. Notice when your mind starts to jump ahead. Notice when you're starting to stop listening or fading out or fade to black, as they say. It means you have to be cognizant of your behaviors. So it would also mean that you have to understand what awareness sounds like, what awareness feels like, what awareness even tastes like. And sometimes when I say that, right, and even if in my discussions and even when I'm working with clients, I said, what does it feel like? What does it taste like? How does it, and they say taste. And I'm like, yes, yes. Because see, certain elements in our life, they have a bouquet that comes forward. It's almost like having a rich palate, like you've just put something salty on your tongue and that salt is popping and you're like, oh, wow. Or maybe you have that lemony kind of, ooh, makes you pucker up a little bit. But see, if we're not cognizant of it, we don't know how it feels, how it resonates, and how it brews in our body, even. So, what does awareness sound like? Awareness sounds like this. Wait a minute. I'm rushing. Hold on a second. I feel myself bracing. Oh, I totally have disconnected. I don't even know what they're talking about. Hold on a second. I'm overstimulated. I'm overstimulated. And you see how that felt and that sounded? I was giving acknowledgement. Ooh, validation. That's power. Whispers, there is no correction yet, just awareness. Realize what I'm saying. There is no correction yet. This is all awareness. The moment you name what's happening, you interrupt autopilot. Because what happens when we come off of autopilot, we become aware creatures, space and place, creatures of choice. Choice creates power. And this is how presence is built, not in grand moments, but in micro recognition throughout the day. Micro recognition throughout the day. That means that minuscule, small, little notice. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I felt my heart palpitating for a second. What was that? See? Awareness. Now, my heart wasn't really palpitating, but I was just saying that as an example. So you have to ask yourself those deep introspective questions. But see, you have to be quiet in those moments so you could hear the question. What am I feeling right now? Shh. Allow yourself to be present. What am I feeling right now? Where is my attention? Where is it at? What am I avoiding in this moment? See, presence begins when we stop abandoning ourselves in real time. Oh, but you realize that first master key was very powerful. But see, I have a second one for you as well. And these master keys are dynamic master keys for this discussion. And I have to tell you, I really took time on this because I want to really build this up for us. So our second master key is shifting from autopilot. Now, I know that many of you all have taken several flights. And if you know any captains or pilots, they'll tell you there is a time and a place that they place that plane on autopilot. You may even have one in your car that you have like that autopilot that you place on your car. Maybe you're doing some long distance driving and there's a part of the highway that is really open. So you put that autopilot on for you and it keeps you at that pace and space. But then there is a part of us that needs to shut that autopilot off so we have control of the vehicle, or that pilot has control of that plane. So autopilot is efficient, but it also is numbing. It's numbing. It develops when routines take over awareness. It develops in those spaces and places where, everything is on this, and this. It's always time rooted. It's always running. It's always that heavy pace. So, literally, when life becomes a series of tasks instead of like experiences, that autopilot keeps you, functioning. But it also disconnects you from meaning. Now, you see, twofold. Twofold. So, Whispers, here is how you know that you're on autopilot. Now, pay attention. Because some of you all might be right now listening to me on autopilot, but I need you to come off. Your days blur into each other. You move through routines without memory. You feel productive but not fulfilled. You react quickly but reflect rarely. You're in meetings but not in meetings. You understand? So, literally, for us to shift out of autopilot, we must interpret our patterns. We have to interpret the patterns, not, being dramatic or have that dramatical kind of feeling, but being in that intentionality, meaning that it's on purpose. So see, there's those words that come into our discussions. There's those things that always vibrate into a discussion of ours. And notice that intentionality seems to come into places and spaces when awareness is needed, because we have to be very focused and on purpose to notice certain habits, to notice certain things that we need to change or come off of autopilot. So choose one anchoring moment per day. Sometimes we have to be willing to choose one anchoring moment per day so we can be present and not on autopilot. It could be anything from doing a few simple things like sitting down to eat, not sitting at your desk while working. And I have a real thing about that. Let me just tell you, Whispers, I am like, soon as you sign in with me as a client, this is one area that we lean into very quickly. Because see, your desk is not your lunch table. And now there may be at sometimes that you may have a working lunch, but many are guilty of every meal that they take, they're sitting at that desk. They are so tuned out and on that autopilot that they don't even realize that they're not even giving themselves a moment to be present, to have the ultimate power move. Allowing yourself a moment to go from one thing into the next. Do you schedule your meetings back to back to back to back? Or do you have a 15-minute grace period between them? To allow your mind, to allow your soul, allow your heart to reset and recenter so you can be present and have presence with the next move in your day. Presence is the ultimate power move. So if we're playing chess, why are you playing checkers? If life is a game of chess, why would you be playing checkers? Ask yourself that. In that moment, do one thing fully and be, conscious and cognizant of what exactly is taking place, what feelings, emotions, thoughts, what energy is moving inside you. Allow yourself to breathe, to feel, to notice, to acknowledge. See, when we do that, Whispers, autopilot can't survive An autopilot does not get the attention that it thinks it's supposed to have. It doesn't get to run off and just kind of run you off the road because see, you haven't tapped the brake once and the speed is starting to go up. And let me tell you something. I never will forget this, that I have relatives. They're huge into trucking. They're into trucking. And there's a part of the truck that, they can flip it over and it gets into that gear shift that it's on autopilot. But the one thing they say that you always have to be cognizant of is that it will start, because that big rig, they got a lot of weight behind them, it accelerates even more. But if they're not paying attention to it and they don't tap that brake, it can really cause them to jackknife. And see, sometimes that's what happens in our lives when we don't tap the brake and become present. We jackknife. That means become burned out. That means that we become overwhelmed. That means our stress levels rise, our cortisol levels rise, your blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease. You hear all the things that it carries with it. But see, presence is not about doing everything slowly. It's about doing something consciously. When you choose presence, even just briefly, I just want to tell you, even briefly, you literally retain your nervous system to, retrain your nervous system to stay out of that flee and that flight mode constantly. It becomes vivid again. Your nervous system becomes balanced. And that's what we want in our lives. So, with that being said, I'm going to give you a third master key. I wasn't going to give you 3 master keys today. I was actually just going to give you 2, but this made me think of this one master key that I feel is very necessary for us to have in this discussion. And that's reclaiming mental space. And I think that is something that's powerful when we think about this discussion, right? Because mental space is your most valuable resource that we really have. Because when our mind is overcrowded, right? Presence becomes impossible. It becomes impossible. And it's not because of a lack of discipline, but it's because there's no room for it. That's simple as I could put it, that there just isn't any room for it. But see, whisperers, I got to tell you, mental clutter comes from those like unfinished conversations, unprocessed emotions, um, even constant input, where there's not any quiet or no downtime. It's just constant. You might be a person who is a trader, like day traders. They're constantly on. And there's constant chatter that happens, but they even have to have 30 minutes of downtime. And it's mandatory because it overwhelms their brain. And even sometimes what that is in that space of reclaiming our mental space and that mental clutter, one area that most people don't even realize what causes a lot of that clutter is those self-imposed urgencies. The things that we place on ourselves, the things that we make now demanding on us. But presence requires subtraction, not adding. Isn't that something? It requires subtraction. So it means that we would want to ask ourselves, what don't I need my attention? What doesn't need my attention right now? What doesn't need my attention right now? What can wait? Or better yet, the one that I like to ask people is, what am I holding that is not mine to carry? Now imagine somebody just came over to you and handed you a 60-pound bag. Here, could you carry this for here? Hold this for me. You don't know them. You don't know why you're carrying, but you just got this 60-pound bag. I guarantee you would ask, why am I holding this bag? And you would go and put that bag down. See, Whispers, reclaiming your mental space means learning to close loops, meaning say what you need to be said, rest when your body asks, limit unnecessary, consumption, and give your mind a place to land. Give your mind a place to land. See, I have to say, presence is not like, it's not found in silence alone. It's literally found in clarity. And when our mental space is clear, our intentions become audible again. So how do we pull all this together, right? Let me say that. How do we pull it all together? How do we get this integrated that it's smooth, right? Gotta see. Let me tell you. Let me help you out with that. So this is the thing. Presence is not a personality trait. It's a practice. And you will leave the moment every single time if you don't start to tap into it. Because that's human nature. That's human nature. Every time that we give ourselves an excuse or we give ourselves that autopilot, we as humans will do that. We'll tap out. But the power is noticing and returning. See, Whispers, this season is not about doing more. It's about being here for what already exists. For what already exists. So when you're present, your relationships deepen, your decisions sharpen, your energy stabilizes, and your life gets to expand. Now, you can't tell me 2026 is not talking some good game this year. See, Whispers, you stop living on the edge of your life and step into the center of it. See, when we're present, we become spotlight. We becomes light, action, camera. We become the solo artist. Oh, but see, it's not saying that everything else is irrelevant and there's no, it means that we are focused. We are dynamic energy. We are ultimately coming into our power. We are being present, and we can even validate the next person because we are so present. We are lights, camera, action. We have a seat at our table. We have brought the table, we brought the chair, and we are here. Whispers, if this season doesn't get you hyped up, I don't know what else to tell you, but you got to come back for part 2 because we got another one next week. I'm telling you, this is going to build out so beautifully. And as we walk into this season and we get to really start to see things, it's going to be so beautiful the way that we start to recapture the way that we want to be, the way that we want to show up, the way that we want to be heard, the vibration that we're going to carry. People are going to feel you before they ever see you. And I got to tell you, that's pretty doggone powerful. Trust and believe me on that one. So if this episode helped you, pause right now and hit the subscribe button. But most importantly, share this with someone, a good friend, an associate, your business associates, your employees that may need to hear this. This is how we remain present, how we help others, and how we as a community will keep growing. That's what it's about, growth. And don't forget, there is a link to my calendar in the show notes or the description. So if you'd like to book a one-on-one session with me to work with me, trust me, hit that button, schedule your strategy session, and I guarantee you, you'll thank yourself in the long run. So, in closing, Whispers, I want you to ask yourself this one question, and I want you to sit with it honestly. Where in my life have I been physically present but emotionally absent? And there's no shame in that answer. There is no shame in that answer, Whispers. It's only information. It's information that is going to help you to tap into being present. It's information that is going to help you to move into the ultimate power. That power move is presence. Whisperers, this season is your invitation back into your life. Not as a spectator, not as a manager, but as an active participant. And presence is not a luxury. So don't get that twisted. But it is a leadership skill. It's an act of self-respect. And it's the ultimate power move. It is the ultimate power move. So, Whisperers again, welcome back in to the Whispers Lounge. I appreciate each and every one of you coming back and spending your life seconds with me, for allowing me to be in this space to encourage, uplift, and to shift our perspective, our mind, but to also allow us to be present and to build on the dynamic things that we as people have. So with that being said, everyone, you have been listening to Whispers in a Bottle, Grown Talk Cocktail Fridays, a clear voice amongst the noise. Tune in next Friday right here on Podbean at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. My name is Sonia Lorray. I'm a lifestyle counselor, fashion psychologist, and naturopathic wellness practitioner, but I'm always honored to say that I am your host, and I'm so glad to be back. All right, guys, please have a beautiful weekend. Be safe. Make sure you take care of yourself. Look, I'm on the East Coast. It's only 9 degrees today, so please dress warm, but even check on your elderly. Make sure that they have heat. All right, guys, take care.